My introduction to teaching was an interesting one, to say the least. I was 22, just out of university, and eager and excited to embark on my new career. I had chosen to enter teaching through the graduate teacher program, which meant that my learning was done on the job through school placements, with a day or two every couple of weeks spent in lectures at university. My first placement was in what Ofsted had recognised as a failing school. As I walked into the drama studio for the first time, I was greeted by a 15-year-old girl who was taller than me. "Are you our new drama teacher?" she sniffed. We made our last one cry. Needless to say, this wasn't quite the "I'm going to change the world" type of first day I'd expected. Further down the line, though, that class became a firm favourite of mine, and I don't recall them driving me to tears once. Not that class, anyway. With over 75% of people aged 16 to 64 in employment, many of whom work at least 40 hours a week, there's no getting away from the significance of work in many of our lives. It should go without saying, then, that we should pay attention to how we're working and why we're working, while reflecting on whether the current way in which we're doing it is contributing to our well-being or lack thereof. While it's dangerous to place the entirety of our identity and worth in our achievements and accolades, many of us understandably form a sense of affiliation and affinity with what we spend so much of our time doing. The reason I developed my time framework and created the Time Journal was because when I had my first child, I found myself delighted and overjoyed in so many ways, while simultaneously feeling lost in so many others. After my 7-year career as a teacher, I worked for our church for a time and then moved on to run my own business as a course creator and coach. Over a decade of my life had been given to hard work and carving out my career path, which I loved. Consciously or not, I'd certainly formed some parts of myself at work, whether from the feedback I received, both positive and negative, which had shaped me, the hours I'd put in mastering my craft, or the muscle memory I'd developed doing something which resulted in a particular outcome so many times. Without it, I felt adrift. Another child later, I know now that this feeling isn't uncommon for new parents or for those whose lives have been shaped by other significant experiences. I also know that looking after children, I was and indeed am still working, but just in a different way. That said, I was proud of the person I'd spent so much time becoming, and I didn't want to lose her in the midst of the rest of my life. I wanted an expression of my ambition and my goals in the midst of my caregiving responsibilities. I didn't want motherhood to mean that I could no longer dream big about my work, and I didn't want my work to be so all-consuming that it meant the only way I could get anything done was by being so laser-focused that nothing else got the best of me. Speaking to a number of my mum friends, I wasn't alone in this sentiment, which is why I was determined to create something which allowed for work to be looked at through a well-being lens. I no longer had the capacity nor the desire to sit at my laptop from morning till evening, and into the early hours sometimes, with all of my attention focused on the task at hand. But it was certainly important to me and countless others that we still worked outside of our caregiving responsibilities. That's when the Time and Pace framework was born.